Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Initiative Order and to the 4th episode of Far Realms in our first chapter. Real quick though, before we jump into player introductions and start setting the vibe for all the spookiness, I'm going to give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors here at TIO. First up on the docket is Session Zero Clothing. They have D&D inspired streetwear, which is all on my Christmas list if anybody wants to know what to get me because you love me. Definitely go check them out. You can use code ORDER at checkout for 15% off of my Christmas gifts because I'm already there. As much as I am excited for all the Halloween, I just kind of cram it together because Nightmare Before Christmas. Next up on the list is Norse Foundry. They make artisan dice, both metal, wood, any material you can think of. They're really sick, and you should definitely go give them a quick look around as well if you want to do dice for me. I'm open to that as well. You can use code TIO15 at checkout for 15% off there. And again, next up, Roaming Player Gear, our very own Got DM. Just saying, go give them a look. They have amazing tabletop supplies and other things. If you want to use Carnaby20 for 20% off of their dice tower and tray combo at checkout, you can get the 20% off. Go do that. I would also be accepting of that gift. I'm not done gift grubbing. I'm just going to throw that out there because it all starts that way. We also have our sponsor. We have Mithril Armory. They make 10 puzzle dice sets, is the best way to explain them. I'm not good at them. Other people are much better, and I'm offended. But right now, they do have a Kickstarter up and running. It's for their Die of Newt Kickstarter. They have 8 days left if you want to go give them a look. And here's a really cool video showing them off. Alrighty. Those are all of our sponsors, and I wanted to also say, if you want to tip the players or myself because you love what we're doing, you can definitely check us out. We do have a Ko-fi, kofi.com/farrealms, because, you know, we love all of our players, and I want them to benefit because it takes money to do all the things. You can also donate bits and subs and all of the things to support the initiative order and all that we do here. Now, let's jump into our player introductions and character introductions. Let's go ahead and start it off with Johanna.
Hi, I'm Johanna Maka. You can find me at johannaxmachina on most of the socials. I do cosplay. This is my first stream, which has been very exciting. But yeah, if you want to check out any of my stuff, just head over there. And I'm playing Elenora The Seer tonight. And who is not looking so hot? Has a little bit of a broken leg. So we'll see what happens.
Un poquito broken leg. Ronan.
What's up? I'm Ronan Fox. You can find me on the socials at Ronan Fox. I am a world builder, D&D content creator. I will be back on Twitch October 5th. That's the month that we're starting. October 5th. It'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. Tonight on Far Realms, or as I like to call it, how many new facial expressions do I learn that I have? I'm playing Jack Graves. He is a detective, and he is pissed right now. He's determined to find answers. He's tired of all the mind games. So that's his goal tonight.
What mind games? It's all fine. Casual.
Oh, hey, what can I say? It's Jay Casual. You can find me on all social media at just2casual and Casual Creativity over on Twitch, variety streamer, entertainer, and future publisher of the 5e anime-inspired Deep Breath, whereas retrofuturistic urban fantasy setting with a bunch of wonderful things. But more importantly today, I am Tyson James Everett, the individual touched by darkness in too many ways and cursed to have existential crises at every passing moment. And my only weakness is furniture.
Not wrong. I am Taryn Hackett as your keeper. I'm also known as Valrook across the socials, as a generally creative human, and the creative behind Umbral Oculus Dice. That's UO_dice on the Instagram. Link in bio for shop, merchandise, and other things. But yeah, that's what I do. I GM here every Monday. I'm here on the initiative order in Vault, our Fallout TTRPG. And then every other Tuesday, I'm over on DM Screenings channel playing the most chaotic of druids. But if you want to see updates on all of those things, including my upcoming shop update for, Umbral Oculus Dice, because that's a thing that I'm doing, check out on the Instagram. Go do the thing. Okay. And again, before we set the scene and start our quick trailer, a quick advisory: this is a horror TTRPG. A lot of the subject matter, everything else will be found in other horror movies, books, etc. If anything bothers you, please feel free to step away, as we may deal with subjects including mental health and murder, or throwing your friends under livestock. So, alrighty, guys, your eyes are opening, and you're starting to question what reality is. So let's go ahead and peel that veil back just a little bit further and jump into our intro. All right, and welcome back. So we set the stage. So last episode, Jack, you awoke in your bed at your old home, sleeping next to your wife, with the sun kind of getting in your eyes. As you began to wander through your home, things weren't right. Things started connecting to where you realized this was probably more of a dream. However, you stayed through it, made your way to the living room, and found your children quarreling while your wife made breakfast, before suffering the horrific vision of your child missing their hand. As you awoke, however, you awoke in a dilapidated home, the dilapidated version of Borland Manor, before being knocked unconscious by the moon face. Elenora, having watched Tyson run out of the front door of the groundskeeper's shack, you followed suit in hopes of saving your friend from a fate worse than death. However, as you ran through the storm, even a lantern in hand, as dark as it was, you began to suffer a vision. A dream? A memory? You're not sure. But you found yourself as a child running through a home, running from a large man with long dark hair and glasses, down into a basement that was eerily lit with the sound of zapping coming off of some kind of instruments in the back, and the sound of a wailing human. Before snapping out of this and arriving back at the manor's doors, where Tyson had been returned to normal, so it seemed, welcomed home at a birthday party in the manor, greeted at the door by Hanson, led upstairs by Hanson and then Elenora up to the 3rd floor to the Widow's Walk, where he witnessed what seemed to be a flashback of sorts. A vision of a young woman resembling his mother giving birth in this very room, with strange runes on the ground and multiple people present. Tyson came to and saw Elenora at the back of the home before calling out for help. Jack finally came to and rushed after the probably less than safe pair. Eventually Jack and Elenora reconvened in the home at the stairs after suffering a vision of Mimi's corpse crawling out from under the stairwell. You two briskly made your way to the 3rd floor through the dilapidated home to find Tyson locked behind a red door in the Widow's Walk. As you entered the room, you discovered that Tyson had dislocated his shoulder, and that, again, this room has lots of strange runic inscriptions on the floor. There were notes. You discovered that Tyson's journal was full of gibberish, but upon further inspection, you discovered that the words, "The keeper has paid the toll, the judge has arrived," were written over and over and over within its pages. You did manage to leave the room, making your way down to the secret closet that Elenora had mentioned to you all, in hopes of finding Dr. Borland's will. Upon going through some of them, you found a couple likely candidates and took them out of the closet, discovering that there were a couple that definitely had parchment of some kind in there. Jack had a rather uncomfortable experience with a moth crawling out of his ear. Yeah, I had to bring that one back up because it was just a good reaction. Elenora began to feel strangely compelled during the moments after the closet, and attempted to throw Tyson under the groundskeeper's cart as everyone was headed out to the funeral, seemingly though nothing had happened. Nobody was dead. Still raining outside, but just overcast, cloudy. But upon trying to throw Tyson, she too was pulled with him, and Tyson managed to avoid being trampled by the oxen, while Elenora has now a broken leg above the knee, severely wounded with a critical wound. There was an odd doctor that seemed to make a phone call after they went inside, and Tyson took the time that while Elenora was resting in her room after this to look through the chests, and discovered the last will and testament of Dr. Hanson James Borland, and discovered that yes, he is indeed the heir to all of the Borland fortune. Jack, being the inquisitive that he is, went back to the 3rd floor to a room they had previously discovered that had sounds coming from the inside, but considering the state of everything, they had overlooked it. Jack entered the room, only to discover a small child, somewhat disfigured, old, decayed looking a little, notably missing her tongue. Jack made an attempt to communicate with the child, asking who did this. And the figure of a tall, ashy-skinned man in a solid black suit and a bowler hat apparated behind him, before dissolving into a familiar, long-faced, wide grin. It just told him, just kidding, and exited the room, only for Jack to find that the little girl had disappeared and the door was now open. Jack heard giggling going down the hallway, and his phone kept sending off notifications. He opens his phone that he does not have, nor do they exist in his time. 24 missed calls, 3 voicemails. And so we pick up with Elenora. Elenora, you find yourself drifting off to sleep. But the fear of the situation that you are in kind of snaps you to. You jolt awake in bed and just find yourself sitting straight up, only to find that you are alone in the room. The room is gray, dusty, rotting. The bed that you're sitting on, there are springs sticking out, stains, broken window. One of the legs on the bed is broken and it's tilted. Several of the drawers in the chest of drawers are missing. This is old, dilapidated, familiar to some of the visions you've been experiencing. But you are alone in this room. It is still storming outside, not as violently, but it is windy. There is a bit of rain coming through the door or through the window. What would you like to do in this moment?
I'm gonna...
Important note. Your leg feels fine.
I'm gonna walk towards the window then and see if I see this funeral still taking place.
You get out of the bed, immediately noticing your leg is not broken, nor is it wrapped. You go to the window. You see the graveyard before you. You see some of the pillars on the mausoleum broken, caving in. There are several graves actually dug up and exposed. There's a little bit of a rumble of thunder as you look back down at the trees you had seen previously. There are ropes hanging from these trees, and several of them do have very decayed remains hanging from them by their feet.
Hanging from them.
There are very, very decayed remains hanging by their feet from the trees in various places. And definitely of varying size.
Okay, I'm gonna start creeping my way out of the room then, just seeing if I can sense if there's anyone else in the house besides me.
Okay. You make your way out the door and into the hallway. The same very, very worn hallway. Sitting where you had previously seen the crying woman, there is a dusty, almost mummified looking body with one arm hanging out the window in a similar red velveteen dress with the head rested on the windowsill. Looks like it's been sitting there for a very long time. But you do not hear, from where you are currently at, you don't see anything. You don't hear any noises.
Can I tell if the bodies in the tree, like hanging from the tree, if they're like fresher than like the rest of like what I've seen in the house, or?
There are some. Go ahead and observe the situation real quick, because then we can do the thing.
Okay, sounds good.
No problem here.
Got a 12.
A 12. Okay. I believe that gives you. Double checking. Yes. So that means you get one question, which is, do they look in? They look in varying stages of decay. There are a couple that look a little fresher. One of which that is hanging from the tree is wearing what would have been kind of a white coat. It's hanging upside down a little bit, but as the wind rocks the body facing towards you, you notice a familiar chef coat and an apron, and the bright red hair. It's Viv.
Okay.
Do you continue to make your way down the hallway?
Yes. Let's see.
So you continue to make your way down the hallway just a bit, and you hit the stairwell.
Mhm.
And I will say, where you're sitting, you do see a somewhat like a black dress shoe almost, and you see the leg of somebody in the foyer. Like
Okay.
past the foyer in the dining room, you can vaguely see through the open archway that there is somebody or a body in the dining room.
I'm gonna move towards it then.
Okay, so how quickly and how quietly are you moving
I'm
through?
moving really, I would say kind of frantically, like quietly, but trying to get there as fast as possible.
Okay. Okay. So you briskly make your way down. There's a minor creak on one of the steps as you're going, and you peer through the archway into the dining room, and Jack is leaned up against the wall. Hat is knocked off on the floor, flask in hand, like passed out. You do see his chest move.
Okay. I'm gonna go up and start shaking him, trying to wake him up, while still trying to be like really quiet about it.
Okay. So you go up and you start shaking Jack. Jack. Peering down the hallway, you hear little girl giggling and running. And you kind of look down the hallway and you don't see anything.
But I can tell the direction.
Yes, going back towards the stairs.
Okay. Yeah, I'll follow it.
Okay. You start to go towards the stairs. Go ahead. Let's see what we can do here. Something fun. Go ahead and roll your addiction for me real quick.
Sure. What is that again? Oh, never mind. It's just plus nothing.
Nope.
Gotcha. Okie dokie. Okay. 15.
15. You kind of reach for the flask in your in your pocket, and you're reminded that it's empty. And you have like a slight urge to go back downstairs and refill it at the bar, but you kind of recenter and remind yourself of the job and the task at hand.
It's not gonna help.
So what do?
Keep walking.
As you keep walking, suddenly you are caught by your shoulders and thrown down the stairs, and you roll and you're being shook, and you awaken sitting in the dilapidated dining room staring at Elenora.
I'm just gonna be whispering like, Jack, are you awake? Like, do you remember what's happening?
Recently? No. Overall, kind of. I don't know how I got here. Why are you here? Why are you up? How are you up?
I don't exactly know the answer to that question yet, but my leg seems to be healed, and we seem to be in a very different version of this house.
I'm gonna take out the bottle that I
Mhm.
took from the doctor and just see if it has a label.
It does have
Miracle
a
cure.
it does have a label on it. Morphine. Except looking at it now, it's very old. Like the label is handwritten. And the edges are brown and torn. And the bottle itself seems to be empty and dry.
I'm gonna keep it anyway. Okay, well that's not the weirdest thing that's ever happened here, I suppose.
I think what we're seeing right now is reality. I think the rest of it is some kind of weird mind games by whatever's going on in this house, because everyone here is dead. There's people just hanging up outside, and they're all dead.
Do I have a shot of the window where she's talking about from here?
Yeah, well, you can you're like next to a window, so if you look up and out, not only are there bodies hanging from trees in varying stages, there is a very fresh corpse of Mimi strewn over the angel's hands in front of its face.
Okay. Well, we need to take a look at the bodies, but where's Tyson?
I don't know, I was going to ask you. He was in my room whenever I fell asleep, and he is no longer there. I can't hear any other movement in the house. I haven't been through most of it, but there's no one in the graveyard.
There is a loud thud coming from what you can tell being the top of the house. And then another. And they sound like very, very heavy footsteps.
I think we need to get out of here right now, though. I think whatever we're dealing with isn't something that we can go up against ourselves.
I don't disagree, but we can't leave Tyson here.
No, I don't want to leave him. I just don't know where he is. You can try in the room he was in earlier, the one where...
That was the room you came out of. That
Oh,
was
it
the
was
room
the
you
one I
came
came
out
out
of.
of? Okay.
So Tyson,
Oh no.
you are sitting in Eleanor's room while she's fast asleep. You just finished reading the will and finding the part where it does specify that you are to inherit all of Borland Manor, as well as all of Hanson's riches. What do you do in this moment? Eleanor is sleeping. Jack has wandered off.
I do believe I had a different package as well.
Mhm.
I'm going to try and kind of look through that, see what was in that container.
Okay, the one that was like it looked like a rolled
Else-
up paper.
Yeah.
Okay, so you undo it. Let's go ahead and
Oh,
can you roll with your reflexes, please?
no. That's 11 on the die. What's my reflexes? Oh, 12.
12. So it opens and there's this puff of yellow dust that you manage to quickly you jerk your reaction it away, and you accidentally drop the will that you had previously had in your pocket, and it kind of falls under the edge of the bed. But as this does open, you can see written it's like a roll of black paper of some kind, and in there are multiple trinkets. There seems to be a dehydrated finger wrapped in red twine. There is a piece of jade that seems to be sculpted in the shape of a cat, and there is also a bag of some kind that feels kind of crunchy and seems like maybe it's herbally, some kind of almost potpourri feeling level of crunch in this small pouch in there with this rolled up paper.
Yeah, I'm gonna ignore all the stuff and really the papers what's catching my interest.
Okay.
So I'd like to look at that more closely.
Okay. You pull this paper out. How careful are you? Because as you pull it out, you can feel age.
It's a delicate removal of like I will move the items to make sure it's removed without getting caught, and I'm not yanking it, I'm pulling it out to like as much as I can. My hands are visibly shaking just from the nerves, but I'm trying to get this paper.
Okay. So you take the paper out and you begin to kind of unroll it. There is writing inscription on it. It appears very, very old. It's hard to make out immediately as you kind of flash it like towards the window by chance and you catch more of a reflection. It appears to be written. You can't quite nail it down. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, make your. I will let you choose. Go ahead and make your roll. What you would like to roll in this situation to better get an idea of what the paper is as well as everything around you at the moment.
My natural instinct is to always try to see through the illusion.
Okay.
That's always my dedicated focus. I believe there's more to everything that there is, so I want to see if there's something underneath what I'm observing.
Okay, I will allow that.
That is plus soul 15.
15. You stare at this paper. It's blood. It's written in blood. You're not certain of the language, its origins, but it's old. Easily 1,000 years. The fact that this paper is sticking together, it's kind of blowing your mind a little bit. And as you pull the paper down, you look around you, and you are in a dilapidated, empty bedroom. Briefly looking around, raining outside, and then you snap back to where you are. Elenora is sleeping on the bed. Paper in hand.
So this room. Is this the real part? Or is this? And it's going to like roll the paper back since I couldn't really read it, put it back in the pouch. And I'm just gonna literally set the pouch off to, I'm assuming there's like an end table of sorts. I'm gonna set it there and it no longer exists in my mind.
Okay. What do you do next?
I'm gonna do a quick check on Eleanor just to, I know she fell asleep. I wanna make sure she's still alive.
Yeah, so you go up to Elenora and you go to check her. She's a little warm. You check the bandages. They're bleeding through a bit. But she seems to be in a very deep sleep. As you look, you can see like her pupils moving behind her eyelids as though she is dreaming. But she seems okay, other than the obvious.
So my impulse just kicked in because I rolled. I'm gonna first go to pick up the will parchment that I dropped that fell out of my pocket. I'm gonna be like, oh, it's out of my pocket, and I'm gonna go on the ground to find it.
You reach down to grab the will, and a hand catches your wrist as you begin to pull up.
Like, is it a firm grip, like they're holding me, or just like?
Yeah, like it's like their firm grip. You go to pull and you get stopped.
All right, so I'm gonna try to like yank as I try to pull.
You try to yank and it yanks back, and you are shunted to the floor. Your chin hits the hardwood floor and it kind of scuffs as you look over, and Hansen is under the bed. You can see as he pulls you closer to him to where you can smell the rot. You can see the torn flesh down his face and his lip and his exposed jawline. And he begins to like moan and scream. As you can see that he is crying. I need you to roll Keep It Together.
Oh, totally. That's something that I can do. That is something I can do. Keep it together is willpower. Oh, okay. That's 11.
11. Okay. Uh, so in this moment, you see Hanson in this state. So let me ask you, how does Tyson feel in this moment, seeing Hanson in this state, clearly in pain and clearly suffering?
There's a sense of both guilt and anger
Okay.
that's kind of radiating in this moment. Hanson is someone that he cared for, but he also feels like Hanson kept way too much from him. So there's that fact of seeing Hanson like this is painful, but he's pretty pissed at Hanson.
So in this moment, you do become angry and you lose 1 stability. You are going to be a little hot-headed right now, but you do lose 1 stability.
Cool, I've entered the next tier. Bet.
So
No big deal.
Jack and Elenora, while Tyson is staring at Hanson's baby blues, you are in the dining room. You hear the steps from upstairs. They do sound like they're making their way down the hallway from the red room upstairs. What do you do?
I want to use bound because I want to see if I'm actually seeing the location like as it is, like if this is the true form or if this is just another mind game.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, 14.
14. Okay. You can choose one of those options.
Okay. I want to see like the true form of this location, if what I'm seeing right now is reality or if this is just another part of the mind games.
Okay, so Jack, as you were looking you and Eleanor are basically face to face, and she begins to look up and around, and a guttural tone begins to emanate from like deep in her throat, almost as if she is not speaking, something else is, and there's a strange chanting as her eyes roll back briefly.
Okay. Reflexively, based on her previous actions, I'm going to sort of
Scooch
just
away?
be very defensive. Yes, extremely defensive.
Understandable.
Fair.
So, Eleonora, from your perspective, you look up briefly as you feel yourself calling to this entity, and there is a heat that comes from your side as you peer up and back down and around, almost with a renewed sharpness, just briefly. This is as it truly is.
Okay.
And your eyes kind of roll back, and Jack, you do notice as her eyes roll back into place, her pupils had previously been completely dilated, kind of come back and recenter. Eleanor, you obviously don't know these things.
Yeah, I think it's just a normal Tuesday.
Yeah.
Everything okay?
Yeah, I really think this is what we're seeing is reality right now. I think everyone that's been here has been dead a lot longer than what we think. Like
So
there's
everything
several
you've ever
bodies
seen
just
here, every time you've been here previously, was an illusion.
yes. I had been here many a time, so that is I don't know what could be playing a game for this long. Or why.
Yeah,
Why
that's the
it
long
would
game.
choose us.
The thudding sounds like it's made it to the 2nd floor.
Oh shit! And then I'm going to reach into my pocket. Is the phone still there?
Nope.
Okay. Thought I had another pack of smokes. Anyway, we should probably not address that thing. We
I'm
need to
kind of worried it's
probably
making
move.
all the noise though.
Doesn't sound like Tyson.
It doesn't. I think it's a little too heavy-handed for that one.
Is there a way to get to her room or the room she was in without crossing that path?
If you go up the stairs, you're going to run into the footsteps. You do know, so where you guys are is the dining room. Attached to the dining room is the pantry and the kitchen. it kind of makes a circle. There is also an exit from the pantry out under the stairway back into the foyer. So there's kind of like a secret door from the pantry into the foyer. There is also a path from the dining room actually back into the red room. There's also a whole branch of the house that Elenora, you know, that is actually behind the red room. There's actually an attachment to the stables as well. You do know that through the stables there is also the cellar.
Okay.
I don't know if, I mean, we need to move, but I don't know if we need to panic just yet. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but I will say I would like to take a look at these real bodies. So perhaps we go outside. Two birds with one stone.
You can try that. There's a way out through the back, I know, that can take us to the stables or the cellar. I believe we can get out from either one.
Yeah, sure, that sounds good.
But I don't know where Tyson could be, and I don't want to leave the house without him.
Do you think, I don't know how these illusions worked. Are we there in the previous version as well?
I think so. I think me, you, Tyson are all real. And the rest
Sure.
of it is not. But I don't know how it all comes together.
Well, let's just,
Thud. It's hitting the stairs coming down. There
can
is,
we look
like,
at, can we see it now? Can we see the,
No, you don't. You see.
of course we don't.
Observe a situation actually for me because it's
Okay.
it's subtle. So I want to see. I know, subtle with stomping. What is that about?
It's like quietly screaming.
Like you have no voice, like vocal cords. Weird.
20.
Oh no.
20.
17 on the die plus 3.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, go ahead. I think you actually get like the 3 questions, right? So I will allow you to, yeah. Can you see it?
Do I see it?
So as you're observing the situation, Jack, your eye shoots over and you hear the sound. You don't see anything physically, but you do see dust settle from like one of the steps. You see it kind of like scuff off the side a little bit, and you can see one of the very worn rails kind of creak as though something is holding on while it is stepping down.
Yeah, I want to, I don't know if you, I'll let you allow this or not. I'm going to point that out to her. So I'm starting to trust in her abilities a bit more than mine. So I will point out what I see to her. Do you see anything? Can that be my second question?
I will allow you to use your second and third.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Elenora, you are shown the stairwell that is where the sound is coming from, and you do see the dust creak over.
Okay.
With your previous role of seeing things as they truly are, you don't quite see like a corporeal form, but you do see where the rail creaks, you do see something kind of smoky rolling over it, and it's just the right lighting to where you can see it's darker right there. It seems like this area is just absorbing the light as it is moving, but it is coming towards you guys. And like I said, there is the door to the far end that will take you to the kitchen, which is away from, because this thing is coming to the foyer. And then there is the door to the pantry, which goes multiple directions.
I'm gonna whisper to Jack, I see it. I think we need to get out of here. I'm gonna start moving towards the pantry. So we have multiple options.
Okay. Do you stand up and run, or do you try to be quiet and go like under the table?
Try to be quiet.
Okay. So you begin to make your way to the pantry briskly. You go into this small pantry, and it's like a T-shaped pantry. So you come in quietly, the door closes behind you. There is the door that you know leads to the foyer, and then there is the one back to the kitchen. as these shelves are very empty. There's like a rat that scurries off, some really old potatoes, like you thought that they grew eyes, but this one grew eyes, grew a plant, and then died a lot. So it's got a really dank and nasty smell. It's not a pleasant place to be. It's not so good. And it is very dark in here. There is no, I mean, there's just a little bit from where you opened the door and it closes that you even get the glimpse of this.
Is it too dark for me to know where I'm going, or?
Because you've been through here before, you kind of have the idea of, like, if you go this way, you go to the foyer. If you go that way, you go to the kitchen. Or you could stay and hide. It's your call.
I'm gonna start moving towards the kitchen.
Okay. So you start to move towards the kitchen. Jack, you are following?
Yeah, I'm just following the lead.
Elenora, as you get to the kitchen, like, the rug is torn and your knee hits like a brass ring. That feels like some kind of like pulley as you are going over to the door. Do you go into the kitchen or do you explore the latch?
I want to explore the latch.
Okay, so you pull on it just a little and you can feel it lift up.
I'm gonna look over Jack and say, I think there's something under here. I have no idea what it could be, but can you help me with it?
How close is it?
Is that Ronan or is that Jack?
It's both. Where's the noise at now?
You can hear it making its way from the foyer. Like, it's very slowly, but it's proceeding through the foyer, and it sounds like it might be going into the dining room.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And then I'll lift it up.
So you lift it. There is a dim light coming from down in this cellar.
I'm gonna call out to Tyson, see if I get any response. I'm trying to do it quietly, but
Okay. Tyson. So, you are staring face to face with Hanson. His hand lets go, and he is pulled back under the bed to where now it is an empty space. You have the will in hand. What do you do?
I put the will in my pocket, immediately get up from the bed. Is the door to the room open right now?
Yep.
I am going to go to the doorway.
It slams. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I approach the door, and I want to try to peek out into the hallway to see if there's anyone out in the hallway that I can see.
So you peer out into the hallway. You can see Scarlet stomping her way down the stairs, slowly beginning to make her way down the stairwell. She definitely glares at you as she's going. She seems to be ordering Mimi about a little bit. Goes through on into the dining room. And you start hearing Elenora calling for you.
From the room?
You just hear it in your head. You hear Elenora calling you.
Yeah, I'm gonna close the door and go over to Elenora. Can you hear me? Are you okay?
She's just asleep.
Yeah, are you saying my name in your dream? Okay, that's weird. No. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so we have the viewing left. We're doing the funeral procession. We're supposed to leave tomorrow. Yeah. Where's Jack? And I'm gonna head back to the door.
You head back to the door. Okay.
I'm open. Jack! Jack!
Jack. You hear Tyson calling your name from the viewing room. But it's like half-heartedly, like half asleep, like Jack. Like, it sounds like somebody's talking in their sleep. But it sounds really muffled.
I hear him, but it's the viewing room. I hear it from the viewing room, not down there.
Am I hearing his voice as well, or
You don't hear anything.
I'm not hearing anything, Jack. I think we should see what the light is.
Just saying, we're like for a lot with this.
I'm hoping that since there's a light, that means there has to be someone that's been down here recently. But we can check the viewing room afterwards. But the thing is making its rounds through there.
It's in the dining room. You can hear the stomping.
All right, I'll trust you on this one.
All right, I'm gonna start going down into whatever this is, where the light is.
Okay. So you make your way down, and it is like a stone brick tunnel down, and it opens up into a dirt floor. You can see light coming from, it's kind of like a cubby, and then you can see light coming from a far end. There are shelves, there's definitely like casks of wine, and you smell incense.
Okay. Would I know any kind of like possible ritual like this could involve, or anything like that?
The list is infinite with incense. You are inclined, based upon your knowledge of this home and the people at what you thought you knew, that's probably what it's related to. But you do smell incense coming through her.
Okay, I'm going to slowly start making my way forward, but keeping Jack like close by and just trying to like edge my way along to get to wherever the light is.
Yes, Jack.
When she gets to the bottom, I'll go down to the hole. Stay safe, and I'll close the latch.
Wow, just leaving me here in the dark.
And
alone.
head towards
I
the
love it.
viewing room. You have the light. And head towards the viewing room.
Okay,
RIP to me.
So the way to the
Yeah.
viewing room, where you are currently at, would be going out the pantry to the foyer, which you do hear the steps in the dining room sounding like they're going to the kitchen.
Okay.
So you go out that door quickly, you look around, there's nothing, and you can hear the sound going away from you. You quickly make your way through the foyer and into the red room. And there is a very old, dilapidated coffin set up just like it would have been. Torn carpet, busted windows, the shebang.
Closed or open?
The casket is closed. Tyson, are you still calling for Jack?
Yeah, I don't know the time difference, but yeah, it's just a few more. Damn
It's
it,
4,000
Jack.
years.
You do hear, damn it, Jack, coming from the coffin.
Yeah.
It's
Yep,
a very
I'll go open
long, it is a very long room too. So you begin to make your way through this room, and it feels like it elongates as you're walking towards it. And it feels almost to be further away from you the closer you walk. And then it shunts to where it's right in front of you. And you hear one more time, Jack. And it's Tyson's voice. And you feel like you hear like a rattling from inside, like a twitch. Open it up. Tyson is talking in his sleep in this coffin.
I kind of just
Slap
tap him awake.
So, Tyson, you're calling down calling down the hallway. Nothing, and the door slams and hits you in the face. And you awaken in a old rotting casket with Jack standing over you.
And I'm gonna immediately try to roll out, but terribly enough, and I feel like I don't know how stable everything is, but I feel like it'll roll over.
Yeah, it rolls over. Can you both do avoid harm for me?
Sure.
The furniture man.
That's true. It's out to get
14.
8.
14. Okay.
8.
I mean, Jack, it definitely hits you in your knee. That's your old football wound from high school. So it's a little, but you don't take any harm. Tyson.
Yeah.
So you try to roll out of this coffin, and it scuffs Jack's knee as he like jumps out of the way. You do not jump out of the way. In fact, you almost like you hit yourself in the face again as the casket lid closes and smacks you, and it makes a massive noise.
Oh,
Jack, you begin to hear the thud stop, and it sounds like it's coming back out of the kitchen.
Get up, get up, get up. Where, do you know a way out of here?
From this room? Oh, fuck.
You know, you can go outside, out back, or you could book it back through the foyer out the front door. You know that if you go this way, that there is a secret closet that actually opens up into the stables, which also goes into the cellar or outside.
So the thing is coming from the foyer, or is it coming from the kitchen?
It's coming from the kitchen, and it sounds like the similar path. It's going kitchen, and it's made its way back into the dining room, and is coming from the dining room and back.
I would think going through the stables would be best. And we can go out the back door here, but...
Do we know, is there another way into the cellar? Is there an outdoor entrance or anything like that?
Yeah, from the cellar. Would I know if the cellar has additional exits?
Yeah, there's one outside, and then there's one that's in the house that's... that it's in the pantry.
Okay. So yeah, there's one other side exit. Kind of goes outside through the so we can go that way.
Yeah, let's go.
And Tyson will go that way, rubbing my nose, which has been hit.
You're bleeding.
3 times. I have been beat up by a floor, a door, and a coffin.
You do take 1 point of harm, by the way, just because that hurt. You're bleeding. So you are going through that closet to the stables to go to the cellar?
Yes.
And
Okay.
I'm doing that thing like where you're trying to discipline your kid in the store, like you're like scream yelling at them while whispering.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to fill him in on everything that's been happening.
Tyson, you now know that Elenora went down into the cellar. It is alone in the cellar. As you guys make your way into the stable, you see dilapidated old stables. So the wind hits the stable doors and they burst open. And you now see skeletal remains of multiple horses in pieces strung all across the ceiling of these stables as you're just casually making your way through. And I do need both of you to roll Keep It Together because it's a little spooky.
Totally.
our horses.
Oh no.
Tell me what I want to hear.
That's a 4.
Oh,
Haha. 5.
Amazing.
so both of you, this happens, and with with what you just experienced, you're both, because it's like a thud, so it startles both of you, and you both cower. Both of you, for one, will take -2 stability because this scared the dog snot out of you. And you kind of Scooby and Shag this moment, like.
No, I definitely jump into Jack.
Yeah, you definitely jump, and Jack, like with your knee, like it catches you and it hurts, and so you both freeze in this moment, and you are holding Tyson almost baby style, sitting on the ground, kind of scurrying for a moment. As a really heavy fog starts to roll past the door and pause, and it starts to come into the stable. You do know, Tyson, that the entrance to the cellar is by that door.
Where it's standing?
Well, where there's fog starting.
Yeah, where the... I need to get into that cellar because I know it's a weird question, and you can just let me know. Do I feel that our best case survival would be to, like, I don't know what else was in that door before, but I feel like that's a safer option to be in there than just running around. Perfect. That's the response I needed. I'm running at it.
How many you have? Oh my god! I was about to say you have a big oof to your stability currently, and
Oh yeah, I'm neurotic right now.
Yeah, you have a big oof to your stability, and you're not sure. This is all really unfamiliar. You just know that Elenora is alone in that cellar, and you got scared a little bit.
So I'm leaning into my relations and all my advantages, disadvantages, just the nature of it. I am going to try and barrel through the fog to the door.
Jack, you see this. Are you accompanying him?
Yes.
Okay, so Jack, you are in tow, and you guys begin to book through this fog as there is a massive boom of thunder. Elenora. So Jack closes this as you have hit the bottom of the cellar. What do you do?
Oh, well, at first I'm fucking pissed at him.
Good job.
And then I'm gonna start making my way towards whatever the light source is.
Okay. So you kind of make your way out and you look over. There's a single black candle lit in the far, like what seems to be the middle of this massive expanse of a cellar. From where you are, you can't exactly make out the details, but it is sitting up on like what kind of looks like a shelf. And it's based on the light, from what you can tell, it seems like the cellar kind of makes an L shape.
Okay.
Lots of crates, most of them again rotted, everything else that you can, but you do see next to this candle there is like incense burning, and you can see like little things scattered around it, but you can't make them out from this distance.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going towards them then, and I'll wait after that.
Okay, so you start making your way closer towards them, and you now see, the closer you get, this black candle, incense is sitting on some kind of a tray, and you get closer and you realize that it's a hand. It's just a human hand.
Of course. Of course.
It is fresh. And with the blood seemingly from the hand written above it is "The judge has arrived." And there are little bits of flesh sprinkled around this altar. Some of them seemingly older, a couple of them are really fresh.
Good, love that. I'm going to use magical intuition, and I want to learn something about whatever this is true nature. I'm trying to figure out like the purpose behind this, or what this is possibly connected to.
Alrighty, roll.
Ooh, we got a 14.
14, alright, you get 2 of the options. So you want to know about its true nature?
Yes.
Okay. So as you're looking at this definitely, based on even just the knowledge that you've had and all of this is some dark magic of some sort. The last time you saw anything like this was it was an older woman that had come seemingly from overseas. Though in this moment, while you're trying to recall this information, you can't remember the name of where she came from. And there's a brief pause as you realize you can't remember the name of where you come from. But in this frantic moment, you refocus, and it feels very summon, like it's a summoning ritual of some kind. And you notice as you're looking at what's written above, there's a blood circle drawn with this candle at its center. And you see there are 6, it's a circle, and there are 6 points pointing towards this candle.
Okay.
And you can see one of these points, the blood has been smeared out to make that like tick mark stretch outward. And you see that 3 on the other side are the same, but there are 2 that are not that way.
Okay. Do they look like they lead anywhere, or are they just drawn out?
It just looks like it's some kind of symbol that's drawn to represent something as best you can make out from there. It, like I said, it feels like whatever this is trying to call to something or summon something.
Okay. Alright, the other thing that I want to see is, does this seem like a weak point for, like, whatever it is that we're up against? Does it seem like this is, like, a big part of, like, what could possibly be the weak part for it? Okay.
This, as you're staring at this, the energy that it's giving you is that same empty, cold hunger.
Okay.
As you stare at this, that's what you feel. This isn't a big source, but this feels related.
Okay. I'm gonna disrupt the circle then, and possibly blow out the candle.
Okay. So you break the circle, and as you break the circle, the candle just goes out.
Okay.
And you hear heavy breathing right behind you.
Love that for me.
Yeah.
Love it.
Tyson and Jack.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are barreling into this fog to get to the cellar door. You barrel into the fog and you catch yourself running right back into the stable.
With this place.
Was there any sensations going through the fog?
Dizziness.
Jack, any ideas? Would be great now. Detective moment. This is your time.
The fog is getting closer.
Can I exit the stable a different way? Is there a different, like a door behind me or anything like that?
There is a small door behind the stable, like that seems to be on that end. Like it's
What do you say
like
we try to go
these
around?
are big barn doors, and then there's like a little door.
Let's try to go around.
Can't go because I don't like the alternative.
Yep.
You swing that door open, and fog pours in, and you are thrown from the other side of the stable back into the stable.
All right, so I think I'm gonna use an advantage. I just don't know which one to use, and it makes me, yeah, I'm going to use bound.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and use bound because I don't think inner power will trigger. I am going to try and call on this darkness that's been following me in hopes that it helps.
Okay.
That is a good roll. That is 19.
Okay. Tyson. In this moment of rage, as you are thrown through the air, you let out this guttural screech. Jack, this does not sound like it's coming from his vocal cords. Again, it sounds like it's coming from deep inside him. And as you hit the ground, you see in the other doorway a tall figure. And its head tilts sideways. And it points behind you. And as it points, that fog dissipates. Almost, you get a feeling as this fog is dissipating, it is of fear. And as you look back to the doorway, that figure is gone. Jack, all you see is Tyson, both of you flying again. You hear this noise come out of Tyson, and you just see him stare up towards that back door. His eyes ink over black. Do you look at what he's staring at?
Only briefly, because I'm keeping my eye trained on him, but I will follow his gaze and then fall back.
Okay, you briefly catch out of the corner of your eye somebody standing in that doorway before looking like back at Tyson and then back again, and it's gone. And the fog just dissipates.
Well, when he comes to, he will see me with my gun trained on him.
Yeah, that's Tyson. You roll over and Jack is...
Why are you pointing the gun at me?
Did you not just bear witness to what you just did?
Listen, our focus is getting out of here.
Alive?
Exactly. But the longer we wait here, the longer we give everything else time to recuperate.
Right. But then questions.
Sure, just can you move the gun so we can go?
Right. And I will holster it and allow him to go first.
Okay, so you make your way to the cellar. It's chained.
Chained?
Yeah.
Like locked and chained, or did it like try to chain it in a knot?
I mean, it's just locked and chained. It's a very old looking chain. It's just very rusted over.
Is there anything either in the stable that's close by, or like a shovel, something like that?
There are multiple pitchforks, shovels.
I want to try to get a shovel and
Horse femurs hanging from the ceiling.
Nope, just a shovel, and try to just sort of, smash it open if it's old looking.
Okay, yeah, no. So you just start bashing on the cellar door in almost in a fit of rage. Tyson, it is in this moment, because you've not previously looked, that you see the bodies hanging from the trees by their feet in varying stages of decay. You see Mimi like arced back over the angel's now outheld hands over the fountain. Her body is somewhat fresh. As this is going on, you are now looking around and witnessing the truth.
Yeah. So apparently this is reality.
Jack catches it. He's like,
No. This can't be. Doesn't make sense. Tyson's going to, just because second nature, check my camera again.
it's your camera.
Is it the camera I know?
It's your camera.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Put it back in my bag. I don't like any of this. It needs to be stopped. They need to be stopped.
And the chains shatter.
Immediately, Tyson's gonna try to open the cellar with the chains moved and charge in.
You start charging into a very dark cellar. Elenora. Yep. Elenora, you hear the breathing on your neck. Why are you making this so difficult?
Guess it kind of depends on who you are and what you're trying to do. I typically am not the biggest fan of dying, so...
Oh, death is only the beginning. Eleanor, in this moment, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm scared to death. I'm also super pissed off.
Mood.
Yeah. So, as you say this, whatever is behind you seems to grow.
Good. Great.
and you feel yourself pulled, as if something grabbed you by the back of your hair and is trying to pull you. How do you react?
I'm gonna try and like scramble away. I'm trying to call on whatever is like buried deep inside me, whatever this thing is. I'm just looking for any kind of help. I'm calling Jack and Tyson's names, just all of it.
Okay. So, Jack and Tyson, as you begin charging in, you hear Eleanor start screaming out. Yes, Jack. Guilty
As
party
Tyson,
one.
Tyson goes in, I say, "Stay safe," and I close the
Yeah.
door.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
Okay.
What I want to do is I want to go see Mimi. So
Okay.
that's what
So
I used to.
you are walking over to Mimi. Eleonora, please do just avoid harm for me.
Okay.
Tyson, you are running.
I'm running towards
You
that.
see darkness. You run into a crate.
I pull out
Okay.
my camera light.
Yeah, you do. You pull out your digital camera and you can see. Yes. Eleonora,
I got a 4.
you are ripped up by your hair. You do take 1 point of harm as it like gives you whiplash a little bit, and you are being suspended in the air by your hair.
Oh.
Tyson, so this is what's that freaking game that broke Ronan?
Yeah,
so
that's the problem because I realize does my camera
Yes.
still have its night vision mode?
Yep. So
Yep.
you have your camera, and
So I'm
you
walking through night vision mode.
you have your camera, and that's what you're using, and you are running through, and you can see everything as you turn a corner in this stone room. You see Eleonora be like, it's not a shut, it's just dark right there by her, and you see her fly up by her hair, and she is being suspended in the air by her hair.
Just confirming we're still in the same quote unquote scene, aren't we?
Yeah.
Damn.
Which is
I
why
I just see the darkness. Do I see a darkness holding her? Like,
it just looks, it's hard to explain. It just looks like a void spot. It's just dark there.
so I'm gonna run over to Eleanor and try and, well, first oh god, first what?
Well, if you're running up to Eleonora, you hit like a wall, and you are going to need to also avoid harm.
Oh, there's a wall. Damn.
It's not a wall, but you've been clotheslined.
Yeah, I have. Wait, avoid harm. Oh wait, no. 11.
11. Okay, so it just manages to catch you and knock you off balance to where you skid on the ground. You don't take any physical damage from this, but it does it slows you as you look up, and you can kind of make out some kind of dark figure holding Eleonora up. Eleonora, you do now see, based on some weird light coming out of a strange little silver box, you do see somehow with this magical light box, you do see Tyson coming up to help you.
I want to try and to do act under pressure. I don't know how this is going to go exactly, but
Okay, what are you trying to do?
I'm trying.
Free yourself?
Yeah, I'm just trying to free myself.
Okay.
Ooh, 5. That was also not good.
Okay. Okay. So you are trying to free yourself, and you pull, and as you do that, it catches your arm and twists it backwards.
Ooh.
And you are now thrown to the ground, and you are unable to move.
Great. Love that.
And like in that moment, you're dazed. Like the room is spinning. Nothing makes sense at this moment. Tyson, you witness this happen. Jack.
To be fair, I said stay safe.
Says the man with the gun.
Jack,
Yes.
You make your way up to this dry fountain.
Is there a
And-
way to get a good look at her without moving her, without having to?
Yeah, no,
take
it's
her
pretty. She's not like the statue. Probably only goes a couple feet taller than you.
down? Okay.
And where her arms are, like you, as you walk up, you see Mimi's dead face, just mouth agape.
Okay.
It is clear there is purple bruising all around her neck.
I want to do like a crime scene investigation of her body.
Okay, do it, do it.
13? Is that only one question?
That's one question.
God bless.
Pick a good one.
All right, one thing real fast before I figure out my question.
Mm-hmm.
What can I assume about the nature of the death? Like when you say purple, is it like a rope? Is it like hands? Like what can I visually see about it?
It looks like, as you're looking just briefly, it looks like she broke her neck. However, her hair is white. She looks much more aged than she did when you saw her.
Okay. That answers that too.
Uh-huh.
Can I tell when? Maybe not. I mean, I know she looks older. Can I tell how long she's been here?
Like
the
as a dead
angel.
person?
Yeah, like on the angel specifically. Like, is there weathering? Has she been exposed to a bunch of stuff? Is it?
It doesn't look like she's been exposed to a whole lot. She doesn't look really bloated. There's discoloration. But her nails are not grown. She doesn't look withered.
Okay, so she's older
It's-
than anticipated, but the scene itself is not that old in reality
Yes.
terms. Okay.
Avoid harm.
Is that reflexes?
Mm-hmm.
Sadly.
Yeah, sadly. Ooh, that's 15 plus 0.
15. One of the angel's wings falls off.
Oh, jeez.
Just happens to fall off, and it almost hits your foot.
How far am I from the tree people?
Not too awful far. I mean, it's 30, 40 feet, depending on which tree you want to go up to. It seems like they're kind of everywhere. As you're looking around, all of the trees are adorned with corpses.
Okay, take a brief look back at the cellar door, make sure it's not like disintegrated, and then
No, but you do hear a scream.
do I recognize the voice of the
It's
scream?
Elenora. Elenora is screaming.
Okay, I will head towards the cellar.
You head towards the cellar. Tyson and Elenora. Tyson, you see Elenora pulled to the ground. What do you do?
Okay, so with the immediate room, using my camera, I want to do a quick scan to get an idea of the space we're in before I act. So
Okay.
essentially, I would like to observe a situation if possible.
Go for it.
That is plus my perception. What is my perception? Damn it. 11.
11, you get one of those questions.
Okay. Oh man, that's a lot of questions.
Those are just examples.
Okay, so based on my understanding that of everything I've observed in this house, the dark rituals, the weird things, the birthday and the birth area, I'm only assuming based on Tyson's knowledge that this is some kind of haunting to some degree. I want to figure out if there is something I can do to dispel this haunting, something that's tied to it, something that's a ritual, or something I can just tell is tethering this situation. Hopefully in this room.
Where you currently are and what you're seeing, you do not see a source of this entity. You do see the small altar, but that is all you see in your immediate vicinity. You don't see anything in your space right now that's a solution to its existence.
Okay. So then what
Where
I'm going to
you currently are.
This is dumb, but Tyson's also dumb and neurotic. Tyson's going to hopefully get up and punch towards that darkness.
Roll for aggression.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I have a
that's your
negative in that.
Engage in combat. Let's
Yep.
do that.
Which is so terrible because it's a great roll, but like I have a minus everything. That's a 10.
Okay. So you swing on this thing and you notice it dodges.
It's respectful.
It's actively avoiding you. And you notice that it's trying to not hurt you as it trips you, knocking you to the ground next to Elenora. But you note that it is not actively grabbing you nor hurting you.
Okay,
As you hear the cellar door from the other end swing open.
Do a question regarding it avoiding me. Does it seem like, just from that moment, one of those, I know you say it's actively trying not to hurt me, like just avoiding me, like getting out of the way, or like, oh, please don't let me hit this person, just let me trip lightly, like a not kill me or not hurt me?
Not kill you.
Okay.
At this moment, though, it seems somewhat timid in causing you actual harm.
Because this floor hurts a lot.
Yeah. Jack, you come barreling down the cellar. You hear screaming. You hear a thud as something hits the ground. You hear footsteps coming down the stairs behind you in the cellar.
Okay.
Do you turn to look to see what's following you down the cellar?
Do I hear Elenora, her voice at all?
You still hear them. I mean, there's still commotion.
Then no, I don't give a shit about that. I'm gonna get to them first.
Okay. You rush towards the sound. You see Elenora being like arm twisted backwards, like she looks like she is writhing in pain as her arm is being twisted behind her. She's being held to the ground, and you see Tyson laying on the ground like he just busted his butt. And I need you to roll. Well, I will let you decide what you want to roll, as you hear a fist swinging towards your head.
I'm gonna roll a go home check.
Go home check. I rolled that on day one. It doesn't work.
I'll do fortitude. I'll endure it.
You're just gonna endure it? Okay.
Boom. That is a 19.
A 19. You are popped in the ear by a human hand. And you do hear a ringing, but you just keep trucking towards your friends as you hear somebody frantically following you. And that is where we're going to go ahead and take a quick 5 to 10 minute break. As it's coming to a head, you guys. We're finding stuff. Y'all are the ones laying around, but we will be right back in just a few minutes. Go take a quick bio break and do the things. right, and welcome back to Far Realms, where we just left the Lost in a pretty rough predicament. Elenora is being just absolutely whomped by some kind of dark entity. Tyson is getting his butt kicked by furniture some more. And Jack has barreled finally down into the cellar after having abandoned the crew to quote unquote be safe or stay safe in the cellar by themselves. Has decided to join them as somebody or something has swung on him, catching him in the ear before continuing towards his friends in peril. And that is where we pick up with Jack.
Do I see her, Elenora?
Yes, you see her on the ground screaming and pissed off because something has her both by the hair and is twisting her arm backwards. Like, it's starting to the point where like your only reaction is to try to turn your spine up to like counter the arm twisting, but your head is being held down. So it is starting to like your bones right here, Elenora, are starting to pop.
Good.
And I cannot see what is doing this to her other than some sort of black
Something.
void.
Yeah.
All right,
And Tyson's laying on the ground.
I'm gonna fire a shot into the center mass of the black void.
Okay, do the thing.
I believe this is my first bullet I've actually fired.
It is.
Thank God I'm laying down.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. 15.
15. Okay. Yeah. No. You fire and you hear the gunshot go off, and then as it enters into this dark area, it just goes silent. And whatever it is lets go of Elenora's arm, does not let go of her hair, but this dark energy rushes at your face. And I need you to avoid harm or endure it. It's up to you.
Endure it.
Okay.
16.
Yeah, no, so this dark energy hits you and you barrel on through towards Elenora and Tyson. Tyson, you see Jack just being a boss coming through, and Elenora in pain. What do you do in this moment?
Around me, is there any sharp objects by chance?
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. It's a dirty old cellar. There's like stakes. There's like really like 6-inch long nails that are in the ground from casks or crates or something previously.
What would be the closest I can reach?
You're scrounging around and you find one of those nails. Would be the easiest thing for you to.
My natural instinct is to continue because the punch didn't fail. I am going to try and stab the darkness because it's the only logical thing to do.
Stab the darkness. Okay.
Yep, stab the darkness.
Sorry. Too much to roll to engage in combat with it.
Luckily, that's still minus 2. No, that's still good. That's 15.
15? Yeah. No, you are swiping at it, and it's like seemingly cutting, like almost cutting through whatever this energy is, or it's moving out of your way, and it is like shifting, and as it shifts, it drags Elenora about 6 feet away as it begins to try to shift away from you. Still seemingly trying to avoid being hit and seemingly avoiding trying to retaliate. As you hear a low voice, "Stop!" And Elenora, you are now being dragged across this dusty floor by your hair.
Love it.
But
Great.
you have your arms back, so what are you
Fire
doing?
another shot.
Okay. Roll to fire your shot, Elenora.
I am just trying to like scramble away from this thing. If it's let go of my arm, I'm trying to like push up off the floor and just.
Okay. Go ahead, and for this one, this is gonna be essentially this is gonna be engaging in combat in one way or another. You're trying to break free, but we'll go ahead and use that because
It's great. My rolls are so high with that. Okay. It's an 8.
Okay. Okay. So you're trying to pull and you start to stand up and you like kind of swipe at it and it almost like it lifts you up and throws you backwards. So now you are on your back. Again, it just knocks the wind out of you. It doesn't physically hurt you as it starts to pull you back towards like the pantry door. Like it seems like it's retreating with you in hand.
Good.
Jack, you fired?
Oh, I declined to answer.
No, what did you roll, Jack?
An 8.
As you fire into this, this shot just goes wide because like as you're going to fire, whoever was behind you before rams their elbow into your kidney. And just catches, I mean, it's a really sharp pain. You're not going to take any specific harm for this, but it throws your shot off. And Tyson, I need you to avoid harm.
It's not furniture, so you're good.
Or you can endure, but you hear this gun. I mean, well, I would say let's test your luck and do avoid.
My luck? Have we not discussed?
To answer your question, Ravenswood, almost.
It's a 6.
So, okay.
Great. Very good.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah, I have to actually look at how much. Tyson, you take 2 points of harm as it catches you kind of like in a fleshy bit. It just catches you in like the meaty bit of your thigh.
So that increases the wounds by 2, right?
This is just regular harm. Yeah. Not serious, but you do take 2 harm, so.
How many harms equals a wound?
Oh, god dang it. Let me look that up. It's been a minute.
Because I'm pretty harmed.
Actually, let me ask you this.
Very harmed.
How much harm do you have, actually?
6?
Oh, yeah, no, Tyson.
I've been harmed a lot. Furniture has been beating me up.
You've been getting beaten up, and you're getting worn. And as this bullet hits your leg, it's kind of like it's just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Mm-hmm.
And this, to be fair, while you have been being harmed, the harm that you have received in this side of reality is the stuff that really matters in this moment. So it's not the end of the world. However, because you are so worn and exhausted, this bullet hits, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give you, you have a serious wound.
That's no big deal. I only have 3 of them.
Like a serious wound, not like.
This is the 3rd one you've given me.
Oh my god. Yeah.
IKEA has been beating me up.
On this side of reality, serious wound.
Oh, on this side. Okay. I think I've only been injured on this side.
Yeah.
Once.
That's what I'm saying. It's like this side of reality. You do have a serious wound, but you are taken down to your knee after having been hit. It's wearing on you.
So just to confirm that this shoulder dislocation was not
in this reality.
Yeah, that was the only one. Yeah.
I've been moving through so many realities. I don't know what's real anymore.
I mean, Elenora is walking around on her leg, you guys.
Fair.
Excellent.
Okay. But yeah, that happens. And so now Elenora is being drugged, and it seems like it is trying to retreat with Elenora in hand.
Do I still have my gun?
I mean, you have your gun, but
okay, so that knocked it out of my hand.
No, they hit you. I mean, they basically took an elbow to your kidney. So you're recoiling.
Those hurt.
I want to recoil and turn around at the same time.
Okay, so you recoil and turn around, and you are standing face to face with an older person, possibly very gaunt, but they have a robe on.
I will raise my weapon and say, "Show yourself."
And this figure hesitates briefly, and then with their left hand comes up with a dagger and tries to catch you.
I will fire a shot as they're doing that.
So are you avoiding or enduring, first off?
I'm gonna go the same time he is, so I'm not gonna try to dodge.
Okay, so then just go ahead and fire.
Okay. At least I can't hit Tyson this time.
You underestimate your abilities.
That's true. That's fair. Oh my god.
Jack just accidentally shoots both of us, and that's just how it ends.
Right? This bullet somehow pierces both of us twice.
It's a 5.
It's a 5. So you go to fire, and their other arm comes up, knocks the gun up. It completely misses, and their dagger catches you in the side, and you receive a serious wound.
That's my first ever.
Yeah.
We're gonna get plenty of fam.
It hurts real bad. And as that happens, the hand that knocked the gun out grabs you by your beard and slams your head down onto their knee.
It's rude.
Very.
And I need you just go ahead and I'm trying to find out what would be best to roll for concussion. Go ahead and roll endure, please. Roll endure injury.
That's much better. 18.
18.
17. I got a minus.
7. Okay. Well, it's your head. Your hat comes in clutch as it catches the knee, and it. Again, you're kind of caught off guard by the fact that this cloaked individual is doing this, but you are astonishingly okay. Elenora.
Okay.
All of this is happening. All of this chaos. You see Tyson get shot by Jack. You see Jack going fisticuffs with somebody. What are you doing as you are starting to be pulled backwards?
Well, I have used all of my advantages, so I'm kind of taken aback by what's happening right now. I see Tyson just get shot, and I'm like, man, I don't know how this can get any worse. So I'm just kind of letting it drag me at this point.
Okay, so
I am
you
too distracted by what else is going on.
Okay, so you start to get dragged. Tyson, you see Elenora just kind of looking in awe and just going.
Tyson is utterly confused. And Tyson's going to do what any stereotypical person in a movie is going to do. I'm going to try to give chase and stop! Like, that'll help.
It hesitates briefly.
I'm going to keep limp running towards it. Let her go! And I've noticed it's been trying not to hurt me, but I'm also neurotic, and I rolled to see how dumb of an idea Tyson's going to have. Tyson is going to impale his hand on the nail he's holding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we're going to do right now. We're going to yell stop and impale our own hand with the nail.
It hesitates and then starts to go up the ladder.
We're following.
We're following.
We're following. Oh, and I'm going to look back. Jack, stay safe! And start climbing behind.
You are within arm's reach of Elenora, at least by her feet. I will allow you to roll helping or hindering. So helping.
Yep.
And actually,
it's helping news.
You do get a bonus equal to the relation value that you have with Elenora.
And maxes out. Okay, cool. All right. So What attribute am I gonna use for help? Because it just says attribute.
Whichever one you think would be the most beneficial in this situation to try to stop spoopy person from running off with Elenora.
I'm gonna lean into my soul if possible. Everything about just this inner essence of me, hopefully weakening this figure by using my natural occult power that's dormant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you trying to grab Elenora or are you trying to grab the monster?
I'm gonna grab Elenora because I feel like I can't touch that monster. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna grab Elenora.
So let's whichever stat makes more sense. So I would say
No physical stats.
probably I would allow fortitude.
Reflexes.
Reflexes would be one to we'll go with reflexes.
All right, that's 16.
16. Okay. Yeah. So I will say with that roll in general, I will say that you manage to grab and start to pull her back away. Like you're actually getting you get leverage a little bit and you're holding her and she's not going any further. Elenora, you are grabbed by the feet between being pulled up by your hair and grabbed by your feet by your friend. This is a bad time for you. What are you doing?
I'm gonna start struggling as soon as I see Tyson grab my feet because I'm just trying to get away from whatever it is that has a hold of me, and I feel like this is my best bet.
Okay.
So.
I will say whichever ability. I want to do a fun one that this is just because this is Homebrew and I GM the way I want to, and every system are just guidelines. So just roll 2d10 for me, Elenora.
Okay. Could be better. It's an 8.
Okay. Okay, so you're struggling. Go ahead and roll reflexes to try to catch a weak moment so you break free.
Okay, that was a lot better. That was a 12.
12. So you do manage to pull most of your hair out of whatever it is, the grip. There's a little bit left. So I will leave the call to you.
Oh, I'm yanking it.
Okay. Okay. So teehee. So you yank it out. You knew
Almost made it.
You knew what you were getting with me. Don't.
We were so close.
Don't. I'm still me.
That would be distracting, you know?
Yeah.
Quite.
So you pull your hair out of its hand. It takes a good chunk. Like it definitely hurts. Not enough to harm you, but it's stinging so enough that you recoil and grab. You know where it hurt as you come down the ladder. You both stumble. Tyson breaks your fall. He's been falling enough that this doesn't necessarily particularly faze him.
No.
And Jack. So your head's coming up as you see this figure still holding you by the beard even as you're coming up.
Well, what I wanted to do is when he pulled me down sort of his knee and I was sort of bent over, I want to grab his legs and do a double leg takedown. So just like I'm spearing him like a football tackle.
Yeah.
And kind of land on top of him is the goal.
All right, go ahead and roll for violence.
And I'm just really happy that I'm fighting something tangible right now.
Valid.
Yeah, great. 19.
There you
Right.
go.
You spear that fucker. You take him straight to the ground. You hear something pop. As the hood falls back. And you recognize a certain old butler. As they are staring at you, dagger in one hand, on the ground, and that pop, you can tell his legs aren't moving.
What are you doing?
And he He just like hisses at you, and as he does that, there is no tongue in his mouth.
All right, I just want to pop him on the jaw, try to knock him out.
Roll for violence. It's not hard, so this one's easy. 10 and up is just a success.
Yeah, it's a 17.
Yeah, you're a little mad. You're a little mad because of the, the stabby that is still bleeding, and until you guys stabilize the serious wounds that you've received, they will continue to get worse and kill you.
Noted.
So, you just whomp on this old man as his face like straight up goes sideways, spit, tooth, it's just laying there now. With that, Elenora and Tyson, you hit the ground. You look over and you see Jack knock out whoever this is on the ground. The camera is still the only bit of little light that is in this room, and the entity seems to have dissipated as you are left alone in this dusty, dark cellar.
I'm just gonna be like hugging Tyson's neck and just like holding my head still wherever all of this hair has been pulled out. And I'm just gonna be like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what that was. Is your leg okay?
Oh yeah, it's fine. Looks at leg, realizes
Bleeding.
there's a bullet wound, and is like, "Oh,
It
you
did
meant
go
that."
clean through. It did go clean through, but you are bleeding. Jack is also bleeding.
Sorry.
Does it
We
look
need
like
to-
it like broke a bone or anything, or is it just went straight through? Okay.
No, it just went straight through. As good as you can get in that moment.
Okay. I'm gonna tear off a piece of like my sleeve or skirt or whatever and just start tying it around his leg.
Okay, we need to figure out where this source came from. Oh, it fucking hurts. Oh, I've never been shot before. Oh, it sucks.
I'm gonna tear off my sleeves and I'm gonna stick it in my wound because it's time. It's time I don't have any sleeves anymore.
I'm just gonna let Jack deal with himself because I'm so
Fine.
mad.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait.
I don't.
You now see that there's a guy passed out on the ground as well.
It's the butler.
Do we recognize him?
It's the butler.
I don't.
Does he look the same as he did whenever we had seen him before? Or does he look older?
Nope, looks the exact same.
What's with the robes? You guys ever seen the robes before?
Have I ever seen anything like this before, or is it just kind of a commonplace robe?
It's kind of a commonplace robe. It's kind of culty looking. I mean, that's honestly from where you're standing, Elenora. It's like it's almost cartoony to you, of like this is what people. Tyson, this robe looks like one of the robes being worn in the vision you had in the Widow's Walk.
That when I saw that vision, it was pristine, right?
Yes, this is aged.
So this robe, that birth thing, they were wearing similar robes, but everything was cleaner.
Yeah, I think we determined that was a facade.
I think we need to go back to that room and just figure out how it correlates to you and everything else that we've got going on.
Or we just burn this place down.
We can try it, but I feel like that's too easy.
I have
Yeah,
a
but-
feeling it'll just piss it off.
Well, I got kindling if we need to, and I'm going to grab the will or reach into my pocket where the will should be.
Mm-hmm.
Is it there? Please tell me it's there.
There's something crunchy in your pocket.
Pull it out.
It's just the deed to the house, and it's in your name.
We need to get out of here.
I agree. I just don't know how we're going to do that without getting rid of whatever this thing is. I did find what looks like some kind of ceremonial summoning circle down here. I disturbed it, and that's what called down whatever that thing was. If we could find what else maybe connected to, whatever brought it here. Maybe we can end it that way, but
We could, I mean, Lurch doesn't have any tongue, but he's in no position to fight back. We wanted to try to have him answer some stuff. I'm sure he can write. He can sure stab with his hand.
Wait, do we have time to wake him up and get that figured out? This house has so many rooms and things to try and figure out.
I don't
well,
know.
it seems like we're safe down here for the moment, so
It's a very relative term.
Agreed.
Well, and it's between him and this summoning area. Maybe there's something with that. I don't know. I'm tired.
I have
Would
my
I have-
He's not going to do anything.
would I have noticed that it wasn't trying to hurt Tyson, but it was definitely trying to, like, okay. Okay. I think you will be okay, Tyson. Whatever that was seemed like it was not interested in the least in hurting you in any form. The only thing that hurt you was Jack. So
Wait,
it seems
it
seems
didn't,
like
didn't
it's
go
just
after you?
after us.
I didn't really realize that. What is it? So is it tied to the house then?
I will say this is a new scene, by the way, just so you all know. So abilities
Good
are.
to know. Good to know.
Maybe.
Can I use one of my abilities to see if there's a connection between Tyson and whatever this entity is? If it's like some kind of blood connection or.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm going to use magical intuition. Ah, nice. Alright. It's an 18.
Ask away.
Okay. Does it seem like if there is a connection between them first?
There's definitely a connection in there of some sort because it was actively avoiding harming him. But as far as a connection, as in the things that you have previously seen of Tyson, the
Yeah.
previous visions you had, this is not the same.
Okay.
To be frank, this is weaker.
Does it seem like if there is a connection, does it seem like it's with the house or with the bloodline or anything like that?
As far as I will say the only real connection that you're getting is not a bloodline or even the house. The more you peer into this situation, you're delving, it feels like coincidence.
Okay.
But the energy, the type of magic is similar.
Okay. But I don't think it's as strong as whatever I had seen with Tyson beforehand.
No, not at all. So I will say, and just to add into that then too, with that role anyways, is you get the feeling that it was out of fear, that it was avoiding harming Tyson. Oh, did she freeze?
Yeah,
I thought she was. I thought she was giving the most.
contemplating.
Yeah, I was like, that's the
Okay.
most focused face, and it made me nervous.
No, I think she froze. So we will cut away to a break real quick, Danny, and let her unfreeze real quick, and then we will be back shortly after that, if that works. Danny. Sorry, Danny, got you working overtime.
I'm so sorry.
We're back. It's okay. Things happen because interwebs. Okay, so yes. So, which part did you catch last? Um, basically, yeah, it's out of fear.
Okay.
Whatever this is, that it seems to be avoiding.
Alrighty. I'm gonna go over to Tyson then and just kind of like take his hands, and I'm just gonna be like, I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that whatever this is we're up against, it's not as strong as whatever is inside you. I know that feels strange to say, but in all of the time I've known you and all of the visions I've seen of you, whatever it is you possess is much greater than whatever we are up against. And I feel like you're the key to this.
What you're telling me is I'm haunted by something that is stronger than what is currently trying to haunt me.
Yes.
And that's supposed to be reassuring.
In a sense.
So I've got two things trying to destroy my life, and one is said dibs. Cool. Got it. Yeah, no. Yeah, this is wonderful.
So, burning down the house isn't going to help you at all.
No. Well, it'll solve
So
one
let's-
problem, but I have
let's
another
end
problem.
this. A worse problem. And it seems to me like the worst problem right now is somewhat protecting you.
Which I guess is
Somehow.
a good thing for now. Well, do you know what this other thing wants, Elenora?
I don't know. I know it's not connected to you or the house or your family. It feels very coincidental that it just happens to be here. I don't think it has anything to do with you. I think it's just
Here.
from a similar source.
Similar source. That doesn't help. I don't even know what's is dealing with me, let alone to figure out what this is.
I really think to figure this out, we're gonna have to figure out what happened in that ritual when you were born.
Great. Happy birthday to me. I mean, if that's the case, you'd have to go back to that room. It's the only thing with clues. That, I don't know. Jack, you're a detective, dude. You have ideas? Because I don't think we've got much more time.
I agree with that.
There
Or
is
his ideas.
cackling. Absolute cackling can be heard from upstairs.
As far as ideas, I don't have any. I just want to shut that sumbitch up.
Between the visions in that room up the top floor, Hanson's office, his secret stash of stuff, the fact that a deed is in my name. Okay, wait. Originally, the will had me to inherit. Now there's a deed with my name. That doesn't make sense, though. I don't remember any of this.
I already used my advantage, otherwise I'd say we could use Dream and try that, but I don't know what it is, Tyson. It's what I
Oh, no.
see, and
Okay,
Oh, there
we're
we
good.
go.
Either way,
Broke
we
up for a second.
we have to get back in the house. Like, I hate that might be the case, but the answers have to be in there.
There is a brief flicker as you're all growing really tired. And for a moment, you are in a very well-kept, still dirt floor basement. But the shelves are clean, full of casks, fresh fruits, vegetables. You can hear clamoring of people upstairs, the smell of food coming down from the kitchen. and it flickers back to the dilapidated, worn out basement.
Whatever illusion we've been dealing with is either weakening or feels that it's not necessary.
Why don't we just... I mean, listen. If that thing wanted us dead, it could have killed us a very long time ago. Why don't we just ask it?
Try.
I mean, it didn't try to kill Eleanor, it just dragged her. But it tried to bring her in the house, so wherever it is, if we're trying to ask it
We can go in the house.
and call a ghost. What could go wrong?
Nothing more than it's already gone.
What about him? Pointing to the butler.
Is he still passed out?
I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
if he'll... Wherever he's going, he's crawling.
Sense. Well, he's not different.
Mimi
Yeah,
was. She was older.
I can't make sense of it. And then Tyson's just gonna head over to the ladder area that's gonna lead back upstairs.
Let's go.
Okay.
Shamble
go-
climb.
Climb up the ladder into the dark pantry. Elenora, your leg starts hurting like fire the moment you come up out.
Oh boy.
Your head is fine, your leg is on fire. Jack, your side is fine. Tyson, your shoulder hurts. Your leg's fine though. And you open the pantry door, and guests are moving about, seemingly coming back from the funeral.
Can I walk on my leg even? Because
No.
okay, yeah.
So yeah, Tyson will probably catch her as seeing that leg injury's back.
Yeah. Help her, support her.
Yeah.
Well, it seems going back in the house has not the best perks, but I think it's needed.
Where do we go?
Well, the funeral's not finished, and I feel like that's the key. The funeral is what everything's wrapped around. I don't...
When are we? Have they had it?
Well, if everyone's coming back, and last we saw they had all left to do the burial, which means it's almost will reading time.
As you're looking at the people, by the way, as they're moving through the house, they're moving in fast forward.
Interesting. Tyson didn't tell us about the will, has he?
You mentioned the will briefly, and then you said the deeds in your name, but you didn't explicitly say all of the things the will included.
So do we go to the reading? Did we find it? We found it, or did we find it?
Yeah, we found the will.
What did it say?
It says all of this is supposed to go to me.
Which would explain the deed in the future.
I don't know what it wants. Like, why?
I don't know. Let's go to your birth room and ask it.
I mean, that would make the most sense. And... Yeah, let's go.
Can you make it, Eleanor? We'll help you.
I'll come.
Okay. So you guys start to make your way up the stairs. You get a side eye from Scarlet as you're making your way up.
I'm gonna flip her off.
As you do that, as you as you flip her off, Edmund catches you at the stairs. Writes on his board. Holds up the sign. It just says will reading and points at it with his middle finger.
I'll be there soon.
And he like erases it, writes on there, basic, and it says something along the lines of like, "Yeah, you got her." And he like shoulder brushes past you, starts going down the stairs.
And I'm gonna pause, like, I mean, why do you care if I'm there? You don't want me here anyway.
He just smiles and walks back into the red room, like to the viewing room.
Because you already know, don't you? As I shout.
He just like looks back and kind of like side glances and like lets loose this really raspy laugh. As again, no vocal cords or tongue.
You know, if you want it, I can give it to you. It's that simple.
And he just looks and smiles and shakes his head. And then walks into the room.
Don't worry, in a few years, they'll be all dead.
He doesn't have a tongue.
Wait.
That's why
Why?
he can't talk.
Used to be a recurring appearance here.
Yeah, neither
That's-
did the butler.
That's the thing that threw me off. He never can talk, but he knows something.
I guess it's him and Scarlet both know a good deal more than they're telling us. I also haven't seen them anywhere whatever time we're in. I don't
See,
know
that's-
how they fit in.
I feel like it's Edmund.
Do I see
I mean,
the
it's so-
butler anywhere?
Nope.
We can head to this birth room as we're walking that way. It just makes, I don't know. Out of everyone, Edmund's the only one who's, I don't know, young, no tongue. And I don't know if it's time, illusion, whatever it is. He'd be the one to want to cause problems, seeing as if the will's correct and everything goes to me, that means he loses everything. I mean, obviously Scarlet does too, but she's I'll respectfully not say it, but I don't know.
How many people have we seen without tongues, either now or in the other?
The dead butler and Edmund. And then the little girl.
Right, which I did not tell you about, which I'm going to relay currently right now.
Okay, you relayed the.
Forgot all about that.
I
that's
believe at the
3.
first time you kind of revealed partially why he didn't have a tongue, at least Edmund.
Mm-hmm.
Tyson would know. What was the reason he
Was-
doesn't have a tongue?
It was supposedly from a childhood illness.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's supposed to be he was sick and he got rid of his tongue from the medical reasons. But then the butler suddenly doesn't have one, and that's 2. That's people who.
And what I believe to be Hanson's sister also did not have a tongue.
And if Hanson's sister knew something, no tongue, and disappeared,
Is
the
Edmund
butler.
older or younger than Tyson?
He's a little bit younger,
Okay.
seemingly.
I feel like those that, I don't know, if that's the case, those 3 are the only 3 that know something's off. I mean,
Would I happen to know any rituals in which like the tongue is needed as like some kind of sacrifice or some kind of payment?
Yeah, you know of a few. They could be anything from summoning to just bits of, like, I mean, just anything of like, oh, we need the tongue of a liar or whatever. One that couple that pique your interest. I will say just outright the ones that jump to your mind first and foremost that there are some that involves some summoning spells require a tongue. And you also know that sacrificing body parts in various fashions can also be a sign of dedication or allegiance to in certain sects of magic as well.
In some forms of magic, tongue removal is often used as like a sacrifice to summon things. Whenever I was downstairs in the basement or the cellar, there were pieces of flesh surrounding around this circle of whatever it was. And I think that may have been our butler's tongue. I don't know what entity exactly would require a tongue, but that's my best guess of why we keep seeing.
The group that stood to lose the most may have took some extreme means to prevent that from occurring.
That's what I believe. I think Edmund and Hanson's sister, as you said, I think they were unfortunately payment for something.
To make sure that you didn't get it, Tyson.
To get what?
The house, this, everything.
Like, why are there such measures? Like, I don't want it anyway.
I feel like it goes deeper than the house. I feel like this is old. This is a very ancient magic, whatever this entity is.
Maybe. For all we know, it could have been done yesterday. It's all mind games.
It's true.
But we were called here for Hanson's funeral, so there's something to the
Seriously.
family at least.
So as you guys are standing, I'm assuming at this point just in the floor, like up at the second floor, or you
Kind of walking and talking
kind of
to
walk
the room.
and talking.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are making your way up. And Jack, as you reach the third floor hallway, you turn, you guys start walking towards the red door. You kind of in the corner of your eye look back down the other end of the hallway, and the little girl, mouth agape, is just staring at you.
He'll make eye contact with her. And am I to a point where I, like, if I speak she could hear me, I don't have to like yell down the hallway or anything like that?
Yeah.
All right. I'll say, can you help us?
And like mouth open, she's just, and she like fast forward, just little double feet movement real quick, rushes to be face to face with you. Tyson and Elenora, you now see this little girl staring up at Jack.
I'll kneel down.
This is new.
This is a friend.
How do we know?
His sister?
Yes.
She looks over at Tyson and then points at the red door.
Okay.
And then she looks down at like her little bitty fingers and starts and does that at you.
6.
And then she points at Elenora and she like reaches for your face and is like trying to open your mouth. It's like this like 6-year-old looking kid that's like trying to like open your mouth.
She's weird.
Guess I'll open my mouth.
And she sees like she points like and she points at your tongue and she's like she looks shocked. And then she starts looking around and she's like trying to push you guys down the hallway as you can hear thudding from downstairs.
Yeah, we'll follow. We'll go.
Yeah, we'll follow the path, like where she's pushing us towards.
And she pushes you, the red door opens as she's pushing you, and you are almost thrown through the red door as it slams behind you.
Did she come in with us?
At first glance, no.
And the room.
Then you turn around and then she's standing right behind you, Jack.
Yeah.
And does the room look It looks pristine right now.
Yes.
But is the mortar and pestle on the floor still?
Mhm.
And does that still look crusty though? Like that doesn't look fresh.
No, that still looks the same. All crusty and gross.
Is this? What is this room? This has to be where they do rituals, maybe?
She points at the mortar, like the mortar and pestle, and then points at her mouth.
For the
This is
token.
where they took. Are you always in this house? Did they do this to Edmund too?
Why?
And she points at Tyson.
Yeah, we got that much.
And she's like, and just like makes a motion for like big.
Right? Me, something big to stop something big?
And she goes like this, like goes like,
Open.
Glad you're good at charades. I'm terrible at it.
They open something big. One of Hansen's treasures? No. Something different.
They opened something big for me?
Or because of him. Somewhere in between.
Did they do it to stop me? We need to know what this connection is so we can know how to stop it. So we can end this for everyone.
It's okay. You wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't.
Yeah. But they open.
and she points at the window as you say that, like to stop everything. And she looks back at you, and it all flickers and is back to being a dilapidated building, and she's gone.
I'm gonna go look out the window.
It's dark and stormy. The bodies are out there.
I want to try and use Dreamer to commune with whatever is inside of Tyson.
Okay.
I'm gonna walk over to the window where Tyson's standing. I'm just gonna be like, Tyson, I think the only way we're going to find out what this thing is if we speak to it. I don't know how else to do this unless I just go into your mind. It's a weird trick. I've only done it a couple times. It worked once though, so.
Well, just my only thing is, the question is, are we trying to talk to the one that's already bigger with me, or figure out this other one?
The one that's already with you.
At least that
If
one's
it'll
somewhat
help.
on our side, and it might know more about what's here.
It also
If it-
means that he has to be asleep.
It's okay. I can help with that.
We know, Jack.
All right, if that's what it takes, what do you need me to do?
I need you to sleep, which sounds like a hard request at the moment, given the situation, but.
Yeah, I'll just lay down,
I
get my
have-
warm milk, and just fall asleep.
I'm gonna reach in my pocket. What's the status of my
Morphine.
morphine?
It looks it's old and dilapidated, dried out.
Shit. All right.
And it
that's not
snaps back to everything looks clean and pristine again, and the little girl is sitting there with you guys.
Okay. Are you trying to
And-
give me?
It's morphine again, but
I don't know if the plan changes. Okay,
She
I know,
points at
we-
her hand like a watch.
We need to do this quickly. Do you want to know what time it
And
is?
she makes like bunny ears. And she's like,
It's like an Alice in Wonderland reference.
You're late.
I'm late.
Tyson's late.
We're all
of us are too
late.
Not a
And
good
sh-
sign.
she hears, like, you look as she seems to be hearing something, and there is a thud on the other side of the red door.
Oh my god.
And she just dissipates.
How fast can we do the dream thing? Like, is it like it takes a while for me to do the thing?
Don't know. It didn't take long last time I did it, but I really don't know a lot about it, unfortunately. This is also very new to me, so.
Elenora, how hard are you concentrating on trying to do this?
I'm concentrating pretty hard considering there's something banging on the other side of the door.
As you start concentrating, you just go.
Okay.
Do go ahead and roll.
Okay.
There's a reason for that, guys.
15 exactly.
I don't like it because I'm awake.
I can help with that.
So, Elenora, you start going through what seems kind of like a dense fog, and you come out the other side, and you recognize the storefront. It's your storefront.
Okay.
The door opens up in this storefront. Do you go in?
Yes.
You go through this storefront. You see the chair, your crystal ball table chair set up, all of the decorations, and the chair like pulls itself out. Do you sit?
Yes. I feel comfortable in this space, but I'm also on guard.
You sit in this chair, and it pulls you forward to the crystal ball, and you fall into it.
Ooh.
As you fall into this crystal ball, you start hearing storm cloud, like thundering. You hear rain. You hear the rushing of waves. And suddenly you were on the deck of a boat.
Okay.
And water is pouring down over you. And you start to hear people screaming. As you look up, you can see one person frantically reaching the edges of, like, you are looking down the deck of this boat, and you see one person's hands reaching a doorway and trying to pull themselves out, screaming for help as they are jerked back inside. And then there is a clear sound of blood splatter as blood begins to pour through the doorway.
I'm gonna head towards it and see what's causing it.
So you head towards the doorway and you look inside, and there is a figure literally tearing people limb from limb. As you're standing there, this very tall and lean, ashy-skinned individual, almost cloaked in shadow, turns towards you to look at you. And in this moment, this shadow smoke that surrounds this person almost appears to be making tentacle-like movements, this smoke coming off of it. As it moves, it appears to be moving. These like tentacle smoke-like arms are stretching as it begins to move and rush towards you. And you do see coming up from its head, there is another one that spires upwards and curls back around as it begins to lunge at you and then stops.
I'm just gonna stare at it and just ask, "What's your name?"
There is a smile that appears on its face. And it responds in a guttural language that you cannot identify. But as it begins to speak, I do need you to roll Keep It Together.
Oh, okay. Alrighty, that's an 11.
An 11 for Keep It Together. Where are you? Oh, yes. Okay. So you will lose 1 stability as you become slightly terrified. You'll know soon enough. As you look like over the shoulder of this entity in front of you, you see in the background Tyson staring into a corner, his arms covered in blood.
How did you come to be?
The entity smiles yet again. I always was. And he reaches and taps you on the forehead, and you are shunted
Ooh.
back. And Jack and Tyson, you just see Elenora again, eyes roll back. Tyson, you have a splitting headache when this happens.
Oh, that tracks.
And then Elenora is chunked across the room as she lands and just skids across the floor.
I'm just gonna like crawl back away from Tyson and just like holding my head. I'm just gonna be absolutely terrified of him and whatever it is I just saw.
Tyson, obviously being neurotic, is going to approach. What did you see?
I don't know. I think you hurt some people.
What do you mean?
The vision, there was blood all over, and it was a ship.
Roll for repressed memories, Tyson.
Yep. I have a -2 because I am so stressed, which is perfect because that makes it a 4.
Oh. Okay.
Just having a nice little
Yay.
breakdown.
Oh yeah, just a nice little casual breaking of my own reality.
You, in this moment, you start to have flashbacks of Red and screaming and rage and sadness, and you just fall to the floor in fetal position and are screaming.
So fetal position, yeah, cool.
As reality snaps back to the dilapidated version.
Okay, so it's not going to help us then.
I don't think it is friendly. I don't know what it is, but it's dark. Very, very dark.
Jack's gonna be pissed. I'm just gonna yell out to. I don't think we've been calling him anything as of yet.
Nope.
So it's just gonna be a nondescript, but he'll know. I'm gonna start calling him out directly to tell him to come here.
You hear thudding starting slow down beneath you, and then picking up faster, faster, until it is sprinting and the thudding slams that door open. Standing in the doorway is the long-faced, wide-mouthed entity.
I will do just arms out. What do you want?
A familiar, twisted smile. To feed. And as that happens, the rain outside stops. Out the window, things change. The house remains dilapidated. The drive outside is asphalt. The road is paved, and you can see flashing red and blue lights making their way up the hill. And you see the entity look. Its eyes go wide. It's pitch black eyes with red pupil. And it looks towards Tyson and back at all of you and just books it, dissipates back down that hallway.
What? I don't really know police things from the time of wherever we're from. Would the blue and red lights mean something to me?
Blue and red lights do mean something to you. You are currently just like, I know blue and red lights. You are confused at the sudden asphalt appearance, because all you see at this point is just blue and red lights coming up the side. This road was not paved.
I have a weird inclination to check for my phone.
You check for your phone. There is a small flip phone in your pocket.
What is that?
Tyson, this is the first confirmation you're having of this as you hear Elenora say, "What is that?"
But am I not having a mental breakdown still? Is it over?
No, that's what you start to see, that flashing red light, and you look up and you see Jack pull out a phone and hear Elenora question it.
Immediately reach into my bag, pull out my camera.
Yep. And your smartphone falls out of your pocket as well.
You see these, right? Right? You see these items.
Am I completely unchanged by this, or?
I mean, you don't. Neither of you recognize this technology.
Okay, so that's what my next question was. Do I even know what it is?
No. You saw this thing that said missed calls and voicemails. That's about the extent of your.
I see it, but I don't know what it is. I have one, but I shouldn't.
What do you mean you shouldn't?
They don't exist.
Tyson, do you?
Don't exist? No. This is all I've known. These items. That's a flip phone. This is a smart, the camera I was having earlier, that's an antique at best.
I've never seen anything like what. I don't understand.
As modernized vehicles make their way up over the hill. Yeah, mind completely blown for Jack and Elenora. You have seen the couple of experimental mechanized, wagons, essentially. You have no freaking clue.
Look, the police are here. We can go. We can get out.
I suddenly do not trust Tyson at all. I do not comprehend what is going on. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't recognize anything.
Strangely, I do. I hand him the phone. Here, what does this say? What are these?
It's a phone. You missed calls and voice. Someone's been trying to reach you.
Who?
Well, I'm going to look at the because I know how to use the phone to look
Yeah.
at the missed calls. I'm assuming they're named contacts for
Yep.
some of them.
Yep.
Of course.
It just says wifey with a skull and crossbones out to the side.
It's accurate.
Your
Current
wife's
situation.
your wife's been trying to reach you.
On that?
Yet you use this to call people, to talk with them, or in my case, you can message them with this one.
And you see the cops begin to pile out of the vehicles, guns drawn. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session. Before our break, because the next episode, so October the 10th, we are actually taking the day off because I've got some family stuff I got to take care of. You know, much love to the husband. Give my players a minute to recuperate some actual real life sanity. Of course, all of our videos will be on YouTube if you want to catch up. But cliffhanger as we wrap up the first chapter next episode, and get ready to move into chapter 2 of Far Realms. So I love you guys. Johanna, do you want to give yourself a shout out?
You can find me at johannaxmachina on the socials. I'm fairly regular on TikTok and Instagram. I do fun cosplays, I do my own costuming, and just come check it out if you want to. And I've absolutely loved this first stream and can't wait to see where it goes.
Ronan.
Hey, I'm tired.
Hi, tired.
I'm sorry, Ronan.
Hey, it's Ronan Fox. You can find me at Ronan Fox on all the socials and Twitch streamer here back on October 5th. I'll be starting again where I am going to be world building my own sort of homebrew world that is going to be a novel setting and campaign setting. And you can catch me here every other Sunday, and then on every other Tuesday you can catch me on DM_screenings channel for a campaign there, D&D sort of true high fantasy D&D setting. So yeah, that's me.
Jay.
Yeah. Hey, I guess, what can I say? It's Jay Casual. Find me on all the social medias at just2casual and Casual Creativity on Twitch. You can also catch me on Tuesdays on Gilding Light for She is the Ancient, the gender bent Curse of Strahd, where you can get your own copy on DM's Guild, where we don't just change the genders, we change the narrative with a very comprehensible guide on things that dive deeper into Curse of Strahd in a more inclusive way. I am also all over the place doing all kinds of other things and future TIO projects. You'll see me doing wonderful stuff. And I am currently working on my own 5e compatible, inspired by anime, shonen, manga, Deep Breath, the retrofuturistic urban fantasy setting in which the conflict of the old world of magic meets the new world of technology. And the question always becomes, where do you stand? And my sanity has officially been broken. I'm going to have to find some more at the store. I'll see if Amazon delivers spare sanity.
I love it. I love you guys. So Taryn Hackett, also known as well, work across the socials, generally creative human, TTRPG player, and a GM. Again, every other Sunday, catch me here GMing and being your keeper. And then every Monday, I'm on Vault, our Fallout TTRPG, playing as Peggy Sue James. And then every other Tuesday, I will also be in DM Screening's game, the Ecriom Expeditions, playing a Hexblood Druid Chaos Monkey. So go do that. I am also the creative behind Umbral Oculus Dice. That is UO_dice on Instagram. Link in bio for my shop, merchandise, and other things. So go do that. I do have a shop update coming soon. Yeah. So do the thing and go do the follow because all of the projects will be updated there. Quick shout out to, again, all of our sponsors, Session Zero Clothing, Norse Foundry, Roaming Player Gear, and Mithril Armory, who, again, Kickstarter is live. 8 more days. Go give them some love. And yeah, just a big thanks to the Initiative Order for putting up with our Spoopy Chaos, and we will see you guys next episode in a few weeks.